Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. This video will be the first video on a series of videos I will be doing mainly on different topics, different political topics, different ideas, political ideas, political philosophies, and I won't be analyzing them. I'll be talking about them, whether I support them or not, and the reasons why I support them or I don't support them. So, the first installment, we have post-nationalism. Now, this is one of the ideas that not infuriates me necessarily, but it does annoy me. Because the thing is, history has shown us that, honestly, there is nothing beyond the nation state. Nothing for at least the next 100 years. And I'm being generous here. I don't think that there's a person alive here that will ever see a post-national world. I don't think that. I don't believe that. Not even like a child that was just born this day, like this hour. I don't even think that child will see a post-national world. Beyond that, I have my own objections to a post-national world, but I'll explain why I don't think a post-national world will happen first, and then we'll go to my objections of it if it ever occurs within my lifetime. Mainly, the reason it doesn't work is if you look back in history, I mean, post-nationalism as an idea has its roots. Well, not necessarily it has its roots, but it does have a connection to the socialist and communist concept of internationalism. Now, internationalism is the idea that communism should pass national borders and national divisions and effectively spread throughout the world so that every worker is secure and is treated fairly and all these other things that communists want to do with the workers. So that's sort of the main concept of internationalism. Now, post-nationalism didn't necessarily sprung up from there. Post-nationalism, see, unlike internationalism, post-nationalism can actually be a capitalist idea, and there are parties that are capitalist that are post-nationalist. These are people who believe that nation-states are archaic, that they're bigoted, that they are racist sometimes, that they're religionist, if that's not a word. But yes, they believe that they're bigoted, they're close-minded, they're archaic, and they need to be changed and replaced by regional unions like the European Union or by a world government, if that's their belief, if they're more utopian. Now, my objection to these people is that if you look at the shining beacon of post-nationalism, the European Union, look at it. Honestly, look at the Commission. You will notice something very interesting. We have a union of 27 countries. Yeah, now that the UK is going to be out, it's going to be 27. So, yes, we've got 27 countries. Out of these 27, how many of them benefit? I'll tell you how many benefit. 5. France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, and Germany. These are the countries that benefit, mainly. Sure, there are some other small beneficiaries. I mean, for now that the UK hasn't exactly left, Scotland has benefited, and I don't know if it's still benefiting, but it benefited a lot. Now, Scotland is not... Well, it's a very... I guess it's autonomous, but it's not independent, necessarily. So, yes, autonomous Scotland has benefited. You could argue that the Eastern European countries benefit in the form of, effectively being bribed to stay in the Union. They're given money by the Union. But if you look at it generally, you will notice that not only does the European Union hold back the economies of Eastern Europe, but they've destroyed the South. They've destroyed it. Spain, Portugal, Italy will be added on the list soon enough with its failing economy. Greece has been utterly destroyed. My country is just completely destroyed by the Union, and I really dislike that. I mean, Ireland had to go through harsh austerity. I guess it's kind of better off now, but still, austerity is not. I don't find austerity to be particularly humane in the way it acts, in the way it manifests itself. But yes. My point is that if you look at the beneficiaries, it's 5 countries. And you'll notice something interesting. In the Commission, the members of the commission with that nationality, so the German commissioners, the French commissioners, Belgian commissioners, Netherlands commissioner, Dutch commissioners, the Luxembourg commissioners, you will notice that they benefit the elite of their nations, not the whole nation. It's important to say this, because it's not the nations necessarily that benefit. They benefit to a small extent, but mainly it's the elites that benefit. It's the top, obviously. Because politicians really, nowadays, they only have a responsibility to the rich, really. Especially when you're in a commission, because in the commission, you're out of reach by democratic means. You can't be kicked out. And you definitely can't be kicked out the same way a prime minister can be kicked out. So there are even less checks to your corruption, so you can become more corrupt. And that's the problem. And this is where we see the irony of post-nationalism. Because the Germans help the Germans, the Belgians help the Belgians, the Luxembourgish help the Luxembourgish. Is that late? Luxembourgish? Is it Luxemburger? I don't know. The French help the French. That's what happens. These very people who preach post-nationalism and they preach, united Europe, and they talk about unions and they talk about world governments, these same fucking people don't believe their bullshit. They don't believe their own bullshit. They literally sit there and say, well, I'm gonna help the German rich. That's what I should do, because I'm beholden to them. I mean, how can you trust such people? Now, beyond that, I will touch a bit on the idea of world government, although that's mainly for another video. But thing is, I don't see how someone who would argue against, say, someone who would argue against the size of their government, I don't see why that person would want a world government. Because a world government would necessitate, it would require it to be huge. Now, another thing about a world government that would be terrible would be just the uniformity it would have to enforce. Like, you know how now you can eat like Chinese food at a restaurant, you can eat Mexican food at a restaurant. Those will not exist. They will not exist. Because food is part of culture, and culture has to be eradicated, and it has to be a united human culture, so that the world government can survive. Because if there are separate cultures in separate regions, what's going to happen is that these people will say, well, we're different than the people next to us, so we demand that we have our own country. We demand autonomy, we demand to secede, we demand this, we demand that. And the world government can't have that. A world government necessitates tyranny. I don't see how anybody could think it's a good idea. But yes, those are all my points. Nationalism is here to stay, and people have to accept it. Like, there is no way you're going to switch it. Not for a long, long time. And definitely not in your lifetime. Hell, maybe your grandchildren can manage it, but you won't. You won't. Because I know that most people who are going to be watching this video and are going to have these dreams, they're in their 20s, they're in their 30s, they're in their 40s, they're in their 50s. Thing is, you're not going to see it in your lifetime. Anyways, guys, that was the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found my points convincing. And thank you very much for watching.